So I've recently had people reaching out to ask about the Life Reset Challenge, which starts on January 1st. And I decided to interview one of the participants from last year so that you could hear a real life firsthand account of what the program's like and what some of the takeaways were and the successes and what you might need to know before you join the program. So let's get to that now. Hi, Sue. How are you?
Hi, Veronica. Well, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. Hi, so tell us who you are and what you do.
My name is Sue Cook, and I live in the Cambridge area where I'm a life coach and a research director at an independent school.
Fabulous. When did you first hear about me? How did we end up on this journey together?
Very lucky brief overlap between your time at said independent school and my starting to work there. I think we overlapped for 6 months or not a year. And you were teaching yoga, and I was looking for yoga, and I found you. And then when you left that gig, I followed you and would continue to follow you.
And aren't I lucky?
Aren't I lucky?
So you were one of the participants of last year's Life Reset Challenge. Can you tell me what specific problem or challenge brought you to that program?
I think at the time, this time a year ago, I was really interested in exploring and working on a perceived addiction to sugar. And I knew you well enough and trusted you so much that I felt like a sustained immersion in your care and container would help me at the very least try to understand that, if not
Mm.
sort of solve it or cure it.
And so then how did that go in the program? What was your experience? Did you find that you were able to get clarity and
I mean, it was
progress?
surprising in the sense that it was your first time offering the program. And so I didn't know completely what to expect. I don't know if you knew what to expect completely, but it was an experiment in not just setting goals and addressing them in a narrow sense, but really opening up to really fundamental sort of approaches to being in the world and everything from self-compassion to understanding habit formation, stuff around nutrition. So it wasn't like I was on the nutrition track of the program. It was like I was benefiting from all the modalities that you offered in the program, um, which allowed me to, I want to say, just be a little kinder to myself, which it turns out is a great way to address kind of any life issue. And actually that's become part of my practice when I coach other people is to really center self-compassion, self-love, self-kindness, because it turns out that that's good for pretty much everything that we're working on.
Amazing. Yeah, isn't that amazing how a little self-compassion can be this incredible medicine that goes through then every other aspect of what we're trying to accomplish?
Totally. Totally.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I feel like and you can tell me, but is that how your perspective around self-care changed?
Hmm.
Or were there other ways that your perspective to self-care, health, or life in general changed other than just that self-compassion component?
Well, I think the work on habits was really profound, something that's seemingly sort of simple, but it's not about acquiring knowledge or theory alone. It's really about trying, failing, trying again, failing, two steps forward, one step back until the moment where something kind of gets traction. So for me, those practices around the morning routine, the evening routine, which are a form of self-love and self-compassion. But it was interesting and surprising to me how much momentum they gave to some of the other work that might have been around meditation or exercise or what to eat, when to eat. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, but I would say that the sort of total offering really built and sustained this very durable container for practicing things with the idea that after 90 days, they will continue in some form without your constant guidance and support, which I know was your aim.
Mm. And so what I'm hearing you say is that the container of the program offered you the ability to firm the healthy habits and the consistency that you needed to then continue to
Yeah.
support your other aims and desires.
Yeah. And the group itself was,
Mhm.
such a powerful support structure. Just the fact that there were, I don't remember, 10, 12 other people who were all over the place geographically, but very together every day on the online platforms, encouraging one another, cheering one another on, laughing off the little setbacks and failures. I mean, I got some very deep and nourishing coaching from that group. I mean, I remember one part in particular where I decided to share something very vulnerable in one of the check-ins and just got this outpouring of very actionable strategies that I might have come up with if I was coaching someone else. But when it was me, they somehow weren't available to me. But the group said, have you tried this, and this? And once I took that advice and put it into the problem kind of magically disappeared. So I think that group infrastructure is also really key to the consistency, the self-compassion, and the momentum of the work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's really hard to see the label when you're inside the jar. And so if you've got other people there that can look on the
Complicated
outside and be
metaphor.
like,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
totally,
right? Like you
totally.
can't that I forget who said that to me. I feel like that was a Mona-ism. She always comes up with these great isms that she
Love
probably
that.
stole from someone else, but I love that. Like you can't she used it in reference to something very similar that you were going through. Like I was going through something and I was like, why can't I fix this? Why can't I see the solution? And she was like, well, it's really hard to read the label when you're inside the jar. And I was
Yeah,
like, oh,
yeah,
boom.
yeah. Very true.
Can you describe a standout moment during the program that made you feel really empowered or successful?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm gonna stretch the definition of during the program because it
Sure.
kind of happened after the program ran through March 31st. I mean, I could think of many examples, but really the one that stands out that I think about often is what happened on April 1st. And you might remember the details better than I do, but there was a moment where, through experience and reflection, it became clear that I needed to move more and needed to really start that, maybe sugar addiction is present or maybe that's a real phenomenon. But one of the medicines for me was really increasing my strength training and my cardiovascular health. And somehow between you and me, there was like a pact. And I remember you even offered to support me sort of in the months following this, where I was going to really commit to exercising 6 days a week with a lot of strength training. And I think I could have made that commitment without the program, but I don't know that I would have kept the commitment without the 3 months leading up to it, because whether through the habit formation or the sense of confidence that I can do hard things or whatever, when I made that commitment, it was very clear to me that I was going to honor it. And where are we? December or something. I mean, I have honored that commitment and have missed very few days between April 1st and now with regard to moving my body in some way that is helpful and healthy. And it has become an intrinsic motivation where I look forward to it. I'm excited about it when I wake up. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy how it feels afterwards. It doesn't feel like effort or a chore or a thing that I have to bring any willpower to at this point. So it reminds me of the thing you sometimes say in yoga where I forget the phrase exactly, but when the movement stops, the pose begins.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the phrase?
When the action ends, the pose begins.
Okay. So it felt like that a little bit, like there was a lot of action, a lot of learning, a lot of, um, practicing things. And then when the program ended, the habit really kicked in and
Mm-hmm.
has had a huge and beneficial effect on me, including sort of not really experiencing sugar cravings, which isn't because I don't ever eat a cookie, but it's not a preoccupation. It's not a
Mm-hmm.
fixation.
You're no
So
longer
I'm
feeling
really
like
appreciative.
compelled.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's awesome. And I love that you got longevity out of the habits that you created and were able to apply them to your new goals as they came up, whether it was
Yeah.
exercising or whatever. I know you had a sort of breakthrough that you believe occurred as a result of the discipline you put into the program. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Actually, so many things sort of manifested themselves that were on my kind of big goal list. And yeah, I had been sort of working towards buying a home for about 10 years and had some good fortune. I don't really want to call it luck of some friends helping me through offering me the opportunity to house sit so that I could save money. I remember talking about that during the program and then just kept doing what I could do, doing what was within my control, within my power. And yeah, in August of this year, I found a house and made an offer and had my first offer accepted, got the house for under asking price, and I'm in the process of furnishing it right now. It's a huge breakthrough in my life.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And how would you say the program or what you learned in the program helped
Mm.
to contribute to that?
Yeah, because it's not always obvious to connect these dots when
Mhm.
you're inside that jar or whatever. So uh, I think the piece around setting the goal, articulating a goal that's authentic, which you helped us with. And then I think building the knowledge around that particular task or goal or objective. I did a lot of reading. I did a lot of asking people for advice. I took courses and then taking whatever the aligned actions are that one needs to put yourself on the path towards that thing. So I hired a realtor and saved some money and started going to open houses. And then that element of surrender where
Mhm.
the mental work of letting go of outcomes and not being too attached to exactly how it's all going to unfold. Those were all parts of the process that I applied to this particular goal and felt like it worked like a dream. Felt like magic.
Amazing. Amazing. I love that. So you're able to really apply what you learned in the program in order to find ease in this really lofty, not lofty in that it was unattainable, but like that's a big deal
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
buy your first house, something you'd been planning
Yeah.
on doing for 10 years. Like that's
Yeah.
tremendous.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tremendous.
I hadn't actually fully connected all those dots, to be honest.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I'm super grateful for the opportunities in the program. And I mean, I do want to say that there's a lot on offer, a lot of different things to read, things to listen to, things to practice, habits to incorporate. And if you're like me and you're achievement oriented or you're at all perfectionistic, that temptation to try to win at like reset challenge, um, is, is good to be aware of because
Mhm.
it can start to feel overwhelming. Like, I can't do all this. I can't make every call. I can't, um, oil my tea every night or whatever. And so at a certain point when I kind of relaxed and let go and was like, yeah, do what you can, Sue. Just,
Mhm.
just do the things that, um, make sense or really feel good or feel right. Definitely show up for the consultations with you, because that was always a good refresher and a good motivator. Um, but not to try to kind of get an A on the whole thing, because that's the recipe for frustration.
Exactly. And I'm really glad you said that because that is a major part. There is a ton on offer because there's no way of knowing what's going to be the thing that works for whoever's there. And so there has to be kind of a buffet of options. But just like you said, there's no winning at it
Mhm.
other than showing up and being present as much as you can and just being available to what's on offer and seeing what is working for you or what's not. Yeah, which you
And
did a
also staying
fabulous
on your
job of.
own mat, as it were, because
Yes, no
everybody in the
comparison.
program is having a different experience. And some people are, achieving things right away. Some people are frustrated. Some people are distracted. So sort of being in a group that's a community of support, but
Mhm.
kind of staying on your own mat and checking in with yourself all the time was another thing I realized was really important.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, that self-reflection is key and something we really try to drive home in the program so that people feel that they have that little reminder of like, are you checking in with yourself or are you looking at someone else's experience and trying
Mhm.
to hold it as a reflection of where you should be, which is
Mhm.
not ever the case, right?
But it's natural and not
Totally.
surprising that we do that. And I think we're conditioned to do that.
Well,
But I
we're
think on
programmed.
balance, people were more supportive of one another than competitive or comparing with one another.
For sure. For sure. Yeah, that's absolutely the because one of the lessons, one of the week lessons, one of the content dumps is about how we can't compare ourselves with others and how even though that is so common and we're kind of programmed to do that, it's how we get along in society. We look at other people to see what they're doing so we can understand what normal behavior is. But when we're in this kind of situation where our self-development is part of what's happening, we can look to others as inspiration, but we shouldn't look to them as a comparative issue, right? It should always be like, okay, that's what they're going through, and I'm over here going through what I'm
Yeah.
going through, and that's okay.
And most of us didn't
Yeah.
know each other, I think, at the outset. I mean, maybe a few people did who had worked with you in different contexts, but I remember sort of towards the beginning, it was definitely the first month where we talked about making space for more small group chats in the weekly meetings, and that it
Mhm.
felt like we had a lot to offer one another. The participants had a lot to offer one another. So you made more time for that. And I think it was one of the most valuable parts of the program. I mean, love you, want to learn everything you know, but really want to learn from the other participants as well. And some of them were coming with just really major challenges and issues that they were facing. And it was like very humbling and very inspiring to be able to create relationships with them and start to be cheerleaders for their unfolding and their development too. So I really valued that aspect of the program.
Yeah,
And
I
I'm
think
still in
there's
touch with
real.
many of those people.
You are. And as a matter of fact, a bunch of you showed up at one of the summer retreats this year
Yeah,
en
it was
masse. Actually, we had two
wonderful.
groups. We had one group of you, which you were a part of, and then on the second retreat, more people showed up. So it was really nice to see that
Mhm.
continuity of connection. There is magic when the community gets together, and this year there I actually have expanded the weekly meetings so that there is more time for that small group work so that people can really build those bonds in community and help each other move through the program. And I think
Mhm.
that relational aspect helps people feel like that the program is even more doable because it can seem a little
Mhm.
daunting in the beginning because there's a lot going on. But if you've got friends to kind of help you through, it
Mhm.
really changes the dynamic, I think.
Yeah, totally. No, I think it was a fabulous aspect of the program. And, because we all respect you and don't want to disappoint you. There's that sense of, the teacher. I think it was comforting to have people who were like, I know, I totally, snacked yesterday. I know we're not supposed to snack, but I totally snacked. And everyone's like, oh, phew, I'm so glad to hear that. Me too. And, there was a good
Totally.
kind of conspiracy of support behind the scenes when you weren't on the screen.
I love that conspiracy of support. That's great. I think that needs to be my next band name.
All yours.
So, final question. Well, second to last question. If someone is on the fence about joining this program, what would you say to encourage them?
Well, I'd recommend that they take you up on your offer of a quick consult so that you can coach them through that conversation, because it's not for everybody and it's not for everybody every year. So it, I think there is a question of, do you really want to do this? Are you going to be able to make space for this in your life? And is this going to strain your budget? But for people who are sort of tending towards yes, and the pieces are mostly in place, I mean, I would say, what's the downside? Just join and see what's there, and bring your full self to the program. Don't be passive and think that you're gonna sort of stick your arm out and get an infusion of wellness. It's a very active kind of participation that I think leads to the best results. So I would say to somebody, if you want to feel better or bring things into your life that you need some help with, need some support with. And it doesn't have to be physical health, actually. It can be a lot of things. It could be relational things. It could be, for me, wanting to position myself to buy a home, although I don't think that was a goal of mine at the outset. But, I would counsel people to just, face their fears. What's the worst thing that could happen here? Like, you might meet some nice people and learn some things, and maybe you don't have time to go to every meeting, but that's fine. And there's a lot to be gained.
Hmm. Thank you. That's great. Any last thoughts about the program or your experience or anything that really stood out that you were just like, it was such an aha moment and felt so useful to me. I think it'll be useful to other people.
I think, I don't know if there's a direct answer to what you're asking, but
It's okay.
there were lots of opportunities to journal, and I I took notes in a lot of the group sessions and the one-on-one consultations. And it's so interesting to look back on those notes because I almost don't recognize the person I was when I started the program. The things I was worried about, the things I was fixated on that changed. Um, so I mean, I guess I would say to people, this really can lead to transformation. And it's not
Mm.
that people in your life are going to be like, who are you? I don't recognize you. But it's an inner thing. And with those artifacts of notes and journal entries, it's really apparent to me that who I was at the beginning and who I was at the end was quite a bit different, and all in a positive way. So I'm glad I have the ability to sort of look back and review some of the things I articulated at the beginning. And I think you incorporate that into the program, but it really is stunning to look back a year later. You're like, wow, I was worried about that. Huh, that made me cry. Not anymore.
Yeah, it sounds like you gained a fair modicum of self-confidence, even though you were a fairly confident person when we started. But
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
that's what that's what I'm hearing. Like
Yeah,
there's just this shift of confidence from who you were to who you are now.
yeah.
Really impressive.
Well, it's kind of like, I mean, I say this to my coaching clients all the time, but the process by which we fall in love with ourselves, such that we want to take care of ourselves and honor ourselves and express our voice and live into our purpose, can be, can happen in lots of different ways, but this is one of the ways that can happen.
I think you just summed up the whole program in that the program really is that I want to teach people how to fall in love with themselves so they take
Yeah.
better care of themselves so that they
Yeah,
can do what
that's
they
what I
want to
want to
do.
do too, but I needed you to help me do
Exactly
it.
it. Well, and the world needs you to help them do it. So
And it's
it all goes around and
always
around.
in progress, it's
It's
always
always,
unfolding.
we're always, that's how it is.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Sue, thank you so much for your time and attention and all your
Thank
wonderful
you.
insights. It's
Thank
a
you.
pleasure as
Such a
always.
fantastic program. Can't
Mhm.
recommend it enough.
Thank you so much, Sue.
You're welcome.
So that was our conversation with Sue. And as you can tell, it was a wealth of information. Sue is just such a great resource, and she was just fabulously generous to interview with me today. Now, if you are interested in the Life Reset Challenge, you want to join, but you're not sure, you're still on the fence, like Sue said in the interview, go ahead and take advantage of the free discovery call. The link is below, as well as the link to the program itself. So if you want more information or you're ready to sign up, click the link below. If you need to ask more questions, just feel free to either book a discovery call or shoot me an email at veronica@veronicawolffcasey.com. All right. Hope to see you soon. Thank you so much.